5045. 323-825-5045. And starting tonight, Jon Rappoport will be here with the premiere of No More Fake Newsroom. That's right. He's going to have 30 minutes every Fader night to bring it like nobody else can. It's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. We'll do that at the bottom of the hour. And there you go. And great. Now that we've wrapped up a week and it's a Thursday, one of the things that all week long and leading into today was speaking with our sponsors. And I talk about it at the front of every show. But what's most important here to understand is that to support Fade to Black, support our sponsors. And they are so thankful and so appreciative. And the overwhelming support that you guys show them reflects right back here on us. And I want to say this also to everybody listening tonight, including the new people listening to the show for the first time tonight. Our numbers over the last month have just blown up. And we have seen over the last 2-3 years, the numbers every single day have gone up from day one when we had 0 to today. They have just gone up, 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 up. The last 6 months, I look at these charts, the last 6 months compared to the last 2 years, and I look at that, and the ramp up is nuts. And then I look at the last month, the last 30 days, and it's just insane. And I just want to thank all of you for that, the family. It's absolutely crazy. And I just want to thank each and every one of you. Now, for all of the new listeners tonight, follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do. That's the first thing. The second thing is this is a long-form conversation show. Thursday nights are open lines. That's what we do each and every Thursday night. Phone lines are open. I'll put a couple of subjects on the table, and then we just let her rip. Okay? And there is no agenda. And that's what Thursday nights are for. This is a long-form conversation, 3-hour live show. Okay? Now, with that, let's get this show cracking. Life Change Tea. You know what to do. GetTheTea.com. Head there right now. It is cold and flu season, right? Do what you got to do. Go to GetTheTea.com. Right now, if you order 2 months of the Super Strength Tea, you get your Moringa, a bottle, for just $5. And talking about my daughters this week, when they were 5 years old, 6 years old, Rita and I were talking. When they were like 5 or 6, they would say, books. Hey, Dad, can I have 2 books? And now I find myself saying it today. More on that in just a bit. Studio Dome as well. Studio Dome, that package, that true wireless stereo package in a hard shell case, 2 full-range speakers, Bluetooth, true stereo Bluetooth, $129. Latest technology, loud, crisp, clear, awesome system. Right now, use the promo code JCRTWS. That's, Jimmy Church Radio, true wireless stereo. JCRTWS. Get 60% off the normal price at $399. $129. And, of course, you get free shipping. Now, let's get the show cracking. I just want to get things out of the way. Our full schedule for the summer is up over at jimmychurchradio.com, where we are speaking and visiting all of you all around the country. You can go do that right now. Click on the links, get your tickets, all of your hotel information, everything is there, okay? Fade the blog. Thank you to everybody that has written to Rita. If you do want to write for us, just write to Rita at jimmychurchradio.com. Tell her that you are good. Send us what you got. We'll get you signed up for Fade the blog. And don't forget the podcast, $2 a month, 2 books. 2 books. We have over 400 shows. Today is show number 431 posted up on our podcast right now. Full archives are there. 2 books. We update it every single day. Let's get the show cracking. Today, Ewan McGregor is 45. Didn't he do Big Fish? That was Ewan McGregor, right? I like that guy. Angus Young, 61. That's right. Looks like Axl is the new singer for AC/DC. What do you think about that? Christopher Walken today is 73. Shirley Jones, Mama Partridge, is 82. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio, Facebook. Oh, check this out. I know it's minor, but to me it's like really cool. If you go to our Facebook page, the company page, Jimmy Church Radio, go there. We're verified. We got a verified check mark. Yeah, we got that today. Come hang out with us in the sandbox right now. Hashtag F2B. That's what you want to do. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. The hashtag that we use for the sandbox is hashtag F2B. Tonight is Fader Night. Open lines all night long. We just had our Secret Space program, Breakaway Civilizations Week. A great week here. We got a poll going, too, as well. Participate in that over on Twitter. We need to get that retweeted. Somebody retweet that, and I'll retweet it. And let's get the numbers in. And what we're going to do with that poll is I think the winner will bring in to Fade to Black, and we will just have a Q&A. All right, all night long with the winner of the poll. On this day in history, 1999, on this day, the writing and directing team of Andy and Larry Wachowski released the mind-blowing science fiction blockbuster, The Matrix. I remember I was in Sherman Oaks, and I believe I was online, IMDb to be precise, and I see the release of The Matrix that day, and I read a little summary of what it was about, and I was like, this is like the craziest thing ever. And I saw it that night, and I went on its day of release, and I went to the Sherman Oaks Cinema, and I got to tell you, I don't remember that being sold out. I remember walking right up and getting tickets and walking straight in. And I watched it, I think, which is one of the only films I've ever done this on. I've done it a few times, but I went back and watched it like twice that month. Went back to the theaters and checked it out. Here is a Fader fact for you. In a recent survey, 59% of Americans would happily give up a kidney for 50,000 bucks. 50,000 bucks. Would you do it? Let me see in Twitter right now. Let me see this in Twitter. Who would sell a kidney for 50 large? $50,000. Would you sell a kidney for 50 grand? I want to see it right now on Twitter. Let's go. Impress me. Yeah. 50,000. I mean, you can live with, right? You can live without one. Is there a market for that? Can you Craigslist a kidney? Can you Yeah, let me know. Can you Craigslist a kidney? Can you say, I got a kidney for sale for 50 grand? Dennis says, I only need one. All right, let's go, man. It's Fader Night. I'm fired up. Today, I was doing a little channel surfing, goofing around, and I saw that, and I've talked about this a lot lately. CNN started their series today called The 80s. Now, crazy, I know. I mean, that why, it just doesn't seem, well, it's my favorite decade. 90s was pretty cool. 70s were pretty cool, but the 80s had a life of its own. But I guess I get it, right? I do. But it got me thinking, why are we so different from our parents? Now, just stay with me on this. Seriously. What changed? What changed? I don't get what is going on in the world around us. What has changed? Because in the 60s and 70s, when my generation was, growing up, 10 years old, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, adults were adults, and they looked like adults. Short hair, maybe greased back a little bit, clean cut, wore a suit every day, whatever. But they looked like adults. They looked old. Everybody around you, your teachers, the police, whoever, you go to the store, everybody was old. Right? And it was defined. And we got that, and we were okay with that. Our generation that was about to grow up in the 80s, we were our own. We were our own thing. And now here we are in 2016, and I don't get it. Something has changed. That definition that was there before, the defining line between kids and adults, it's so blurred today, right? If you're 30, 40 years old today, you're still a kid. There isn't, it's bizarre. You don't act like an adult. You just don't. How did it change? And when did this happen? I can't quite figure this out. And let me explain it like this. And think about this now. It's really trippy. In 1985, which is 31 years ago, 1985, 31 years, 31 friggin' bleeping years ago. And if you think about it, go back to when you were 13. For me, 13 would have been like 1976. And whack 30 years off of 1976. And what do you get? You get World War II. That's what you get off of 1975. 1945. Ancient history, right? No rock and roll. It's the big band era. No stereo. No FM. No nothing. Everything was black and white, olden days stuff, right? Think about that. So why is it different today? Why is 1985 not black and white ancient history to us? Or is it? 1985. To me, the 80s were a couple of weeks ago. The 90s? The 90s. That was last week, man. The 2000s? That was yesterday. It's all a blur. What happened? I just can't get it. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm telling you, in 1975, the thoughts of World War II, it might as well have been the Bible you were talking about. It was ancient history. 1985 is not. I'll give you an example. Everybody knows I love Van Halen, right? Okay, that's the band. And Van Halen, and this is where it starts to come into focus. Van Halen, if they released a song today, well, they have, but what I mean is, the stuff that they released in the 80s, if that was released today, it's relevant, it's fresh, it's okay. It could actually chart. There's an audience out there. And it wouldn't matter if you were young or old. You'd appreciate it. But in 1975, if Louis Armstrong and his big band released a song in 1975, it would sound old. Right? And that's part of it, because the music from the 80s has blended all the way through to 2016. Sure, we have hip-hop, we have country rap today. Everything is kind of cross-pollinated with each other. Got classical rap, but it's evolved. So you still have your guitar, bass, and drums, rock and roll stuff going on today, but you've got other styles of music, but it would still be, you know what I mean? So it's like one big blur. We don't have this crazy definition that is separating things. And it just makes you wonder, because I don't feel old. When I was 15 and my dad was 40, when you were 15 and your dad was 40 and your mom was 40, they were old. They looked old, they acted old, they were responsible, and they did those things, right? At the age of 40. 40 right now sounds like 15. 40 sounds like a kid to me. So what happened? I don't know why these changes have but they have. And now it makes you wonder, could life really be this short? Could it be? Is this what our parents were talking about when we were kids? And we wouldn't listen to them because they were adults and we were kids. 1985 was 30 years ago. We didn't believe them then, our parents. But today, I think all of us can stop and take a deep breath and look around, because I think we're all kind of freaking out. The 80s were a blur, as fun as it was. Came and went. Supposed to last forever. 90s came and went. The 2000s, who would have thought that we ever would have gotten there? But the year 2000 is 16 years ago. I can't figure it out. And one of the reasons why, for me, that I can't really grasp any of this is I'm 52. I'm 52. I don't feel any different than when I was 21. My mind thinks the same. I don't feel like a 52-year-old man should feel. Like I thought, 52 when I was 15, that's grandpa stuff. And I'm not grandpa. I feel the same as I did when I was 21. And I just lived life that way, like I was 21. I'm 52 today. I'm 21. Age, the number doesn't matter. And then you start to put the math to it, and CNN decides to do an 80s expose, and then it kind of puts everything into perspective. That was 30 years ago. The 70s, 40 years ago. And before I stop driving this home, do you feel the same as me? Do you still feel, in your oldness, you could be 40 right now, you could be 45, you could be 35, you could be 55. But do you feel the same as when you were 20? Do you really feel like 30 years has passed since the start of MTV? 30 years, a third of a century. I don't feel it. I don't see it. And I don't understand the change in that. I am sure that through generations, going back forever, there was always kids, and then there were adults. And today, it just seems that we're all still kids. that we want to be where we are and that the numbers aren't there. I can look around and see adults now, but they're old. They're 80. 85. That's an adult to me. Isn't that strange? The 80s. Yeah. All right. Check this out. I love, and tonight we have Jon Rappoport on, No More Fake News. And as you know, I've always called this section of the show the news you know nothing about. And one of the things I love to do is to take a news story and flip it over 180 degrees. And you've all started to practice that. And then you get to the real truth. And here's a classic example of reality. Because the headline said today that California has become the first state in the nation to approve a statewide $15 minimum wage. I was like, holy crap, really? $15? Yeah. Okay. I'll do the math on that. That's some pretty good change. Both the state assembly and the state senate passed the measure today in the afternoon. Governor Jerry Brown, Space Cadet, said he's going to sign it on Monday. So then I read the rest of it, and this is where the real truth comes out. The measure will raise the state's minimum wage to $10.50 in January. Yeah, 2017. And then to $11.50 hike in January 2018. It will then increase by an additional $1 per hour every year until it reaches $15 in 2022. If, however, the state goes through an economic turndown or budget crisis, the governor may choose to slow the implementation. The final bill gives small businesses with 25 or fewer employees an extra year to implement the increases. Now, and then let's go to the East Coast. Governor Andrew Cuomo, New York, and the state legislative leaders have reached a tentative agreement today to raise New York State's minimum wage towards $15 per hour, but fell short of a uniform statewide increase. Under the terms of the deal, the minimum wage would rise from its current $9 per hour to $15 over 3 years in New York City. And this starts on December 1st, 2016. City businesses with up to 10 employees would be given 4 years. Interesting, isn't it? It's not quite true. It doesn't quite feel right. But New York feels just a little bit better 3 years from now, And I don't know. I know Manhattan is horribly expensive. So I don't know if $15 an hour living in Manhattan makes much of a difference. But it sounds like a lot of bread. I remember my first gig was at a McDonald's in Indianapolis. And my memory says $2.05 an hour. I think that's what it was. I remember it getting to $2.65 after a couple of years at McDonald's, and I thought I was hitting the big bucks. $2.65. Then I remember when it crossed $3. That was 30 years ago in 1984. Unbelievable. $15 an hour. Well, it's official. This is big news. Your ISP won't be collecting data about your web surfing habits without your permission. That's the bottom line of a Federal Communications Commission vote today that split 3-2 along party lines with a Democratic majority. The vote affirms a reclassification of broadband providers like Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, and so forth, much like long-distance telephone companies. The ruling will make it difficult for ISPs to build advertising or data businesses based on tracking your web surfing behavior. because in many markets, they are monopolies and deemed to play too vital a role in accessing the internet. By contrast, web companies like Google, Facebook, AOL, and thousands of advertising technology companies may continue to collect your data unless you choose to opt out. This is Fade to Black. Tonight is Fader Night. It is Thursday. Your calls all night long. When I come back, Jon Rappoport, No More Fake News, will be joining us for the premiere of No More Fake Newsroom. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back with Jon Rappoport.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I got to tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil three-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Hi, this is Chase Klutsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fadernauts rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
And now, coming to you, the premiere from the No More Fake Newsroom somewhere in deep space, Jon Rappoport. Jon, welcome. Take it away.
Thanks, Jimmy. Tonight, 3 stories. Main story, astronauts having paranormal experiences in space. But we've got to lead with the Tribeca Film Festival and the censorship of the film VAXXED, which was supposed to be shown. Robert De Niro said it was going to be shown. He was going to introduce it from the stage personally, and he was behind it. And then all of a sudden, it was canceled, shut down. It's the story of a CDC whistleblower, William Thompson, a longtime medical researcher at the CDC. I know about this film from the beginning because the boys that made it came down to my house and taped me for an hour, background only footage, to give them my research on vaccines, which I did. And I followed what was happening to the project all the way through to the cancellation, the shutdown of the film, and now it's resurrected, but not at Tribeca in New York. It's going to be shown Friday night and for a week at the Angelica Film Center in Manhattan. If you are anywhere near New York, I have no stake in the film, no money in the film. This is not an ad. Go see it. It is quite fantastic. In a nutshell, a 15-year researcher at the Centers for Disease Control said, "We lied. We committed scientific fraud. We said the MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, rubella, had no connection to autism. We lied. We sat in an office. We brought in the sheets of data that proved that there was a connection between the vaccine and autism. We took a big garbage can and we disposed of the sheets in the garbage can. But Thompson kept copies. He is there. He still works at the CDC. This film exposes the entire scandal. It is monumental, beyond belief, because we're talking here about an insider. We're talking about someone who also accuses his co-authors, colleagues at the CDC, of scientific fraud by name. And you'll see it all in this film. This story was never covered adequately by the mainstream press. I covered it extensively. Other reporters, independent reporters, did as well. We gave it legs for as long as we could. And then here comes the film. You will hear the voice of William Thompson. You will hear a man who is guilt-ridden and agonized over what he did because of the cost in human lives since he lied, since he said there was no connection between the vaccine and autism, and therefore parents felt fine about just going ahead with the whole thing, never had a chance to look at the data, the information, hear the real story from major media. You'll get it in the film VAXXED, starting this weekend for a week at the Angelica Theater in Manhattan. It's going to be quite a scene, and I will have updates for you as we go. I'm going to conclude this story just to give you a snippet of background here because of the people who stand up and salute every time any medical authority says anything that has to do with medical treatment, medical diagnosis, medical testing, etc., 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 as if this is the received word from above, never to be questioned. You ready? Screw in your brains real tight on this one. July 26, 2000, Journal of the American Medical Association, author Dr. Barbara Starfield, revered public health expert at the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health. Meticulous mainstream credentials all the way up and down the line. Her review, entitled, "Is U.S. Health Really the Best in the World?" Conclusion: U.S. medical system kills 225,000 Americans per year like clockwork. If you want to extrapolate that out to a decade, that's 2.25 million deaths directly attributed to the medical system every decade. So when you hear people standing on medical authority or deriving their sense of arrogance from medical authority without question, without research, without investigation, maybe they're a blogger living in mommy's basement, I don't know. Whenever you hear that, remember what I just told you. This medical system has scandals you would not believe, and I've been investigating them for the last 28, 30 years now. There are more to come. Astronauts having paranormal experiences in space. This is a story that I never put together fully in writing and presented as an article. So I'm going to give you the pieces, the bare bones of it, because it's quite fantastic in its own way. It starts in 1974. This was before I became a reporter, which happened in 1982. In California, a physicist comes up to me. We have a conversation. This is a physicist whose name some of you would know instantly. And he says to me, astronauts are coming back from space having had paranormal experiences. Yeah, what do you mean by that? You mean they have a sense of the unity of everything? We live on one planet. There are no borders. No. He's not talking about that. He said, real paranormal experiences. And I said, well, you got to give me an example. At which point he wanted to shut the whole conversation down. And I continued to probe and poke and this and that. And he finally said, okay, here's an example. An astronaut is out in deep space and he sees people walking around down on Earth. I said, you mean he has some kind of gigantic telescope? No. With the naked eye, he sees this from outer space. Not only does he see it, but when he gets back, he reports it to NASA in the debrief. Well, what do they think about that? Well, he's not the only guy, you see. They've been collecting these reports of astronauts coming back with all sorts of different paranormal experiences in space. They can't go on the record, of course. They can't be seen to be defending all of this or standing up for it in any way. Of course not. How could they? No. But they're interested. Interested to the point where they tell one or two astronauts, if you are so inclined to pursue this path, to do your own research, your own investigation, get back to us. We're interested. We want to know. I presume, therefore, that somewhere in the bowels of NASA there are folders or there are files of such reports. Not only the debrief reports from the astronauts, but perhaps in several cases, astronauts coming back again later and saying, this is what has happened to me since. This is what I've discovered. This is an entire field of investigation, in other words, that has been closed off from public view completely. A vital area of investigation. Okay, now we move ahead to 1995, California. I meet with a friend. I'm now a reporter, published in a number of publications, and I've written a book. And I sit down with my pal, and we're chatting about this or that, and a woman comes up and sits down, and he says, I want to introduce this woman to you, and he tells me her name. She shakes hands. We begin talking. She has a heavy accent, which I detect as a Russian accent. And it turns out that she is a Russian psychic, but not just somebody with a storefront in Moscow or St. Petersburg. she works for the government. She has worked for the government for quite some time. And if you are hip to this, you know that a book was published out of Russia called Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain. This was many years ago, 30, 40 years ago. The Soviet government was intensely interested in the paranormal, and that interest has been maintained over the years. I said, what kind of work did you do for the government? And she said, I worked with astronauts. Really? Yes. At that point, she asked me what I did, and I told her I was a reporter, and then she looked at me with different eyes right away. Oh, no, I'm not going to tell this guy anything at all. And so the conversation went on for about an hour. And again, I was probing here and there, nudging her to tell me something, give me something. I said, well, look, if you're psychic, the government recognizes you as such over there. We don't have a classification like that over here, as you well understand. You're working with astronauts, so they must be having psychic experiences, paranormal experiences, right? Reluctantly, she says, yes, it's like pulling teeth. And I said, well, give me an example. No, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Come on, give me something. And finally, she says, all right. You're not going to really believe this. You'll be skeptical about it, but here's an example. I said, I'm all ears. Here's what she says. Meeting dead relatives in space. Meeting dead relatives in space. And from her words, it was quite clear that she was not talking simply about one Soviet astronaut. She was talking about several who had the same basic experience, meeting dead relatives in space. Wow, I said. Wow. We began to talk more, but that was as far as she was willing to go. I want to give you a different slant on this, to go back to NASA, because this is very important. All of the PR about the astronauts and their experiences in space when they came back here and were debriefed and then gave statements to the press, it was all categorized as we live on one planet. We are all one people. This is the Earth from space. This is what it looks like. There are no borders. You can see that. Astronauts making these statements, Mitchell making these statements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, about which I would deny nothing. All right, fine. But that was the push. That was the program. Out of NASA, out of the U.S. government, out of the press, it was all coordinated to present that message, and that message only. Nothing about the individual paranormal experiences of astronauts in space. So why was that message particularly promoted? Because, and I could talk from now until tomorrow night about this, this is an essential part of the globalist agenda. Because the globalist agenda, the Rockefeller globalist agenda, is all about erasing borders. It's all about no more sovereign nations. It's all about one population under one global management system in which traditional cultures, traditional customs, history itself is eradicated more or less in the style of Huxley's Brave New World, ultimately. One planet, one people, ruled from above. Not a utopia, folks, far from it. Controlled, top down, in every possible way by one global management system, which some people call the New World Order, but I prefer to call a management system because It is political. It is economic. It is psychological. It is every form. It is medical. It is every form and aspect of human life ruled through a massive, massive bureaucracy, at the top of which, beyond that bureaucracy, the true leaders reside. This is why that message became the message for astronauts. And this is why the PR program of astronauts after they came back from space tended to die out and become flaccid. Because after repeating that message 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 times, where do you go? Well, I know where they could have gone. They could have taken us into a completely new era of understanding and research by opening the books, letting the astronauts out to speak about their own personal, highly individual paranormal experiences and linking those up with the Soviet cosmonaut experiences as well. That would have blown the lid on the whole shooting match right back there during the Apollo missions. That would have changed the planet. And I will conclude with this segment by saying, in case you want something more scientific about the paranormal, then just do yourself a favor and go out and get Dean Radin, R-A-D-I-N, Dean Radin's book, The Conscious Universe. I interviewed Radin extensively back in the late 1990s, 4 or 5 hours on his book, because what Radin does is he surveys the entire history of laboratory paranormal experiments of various types and kinds, culls from that the well-formed, well-done experiments. In other words, he examines the entire literature to determine, on balance, whether or not the results indicate paranormal ability as the outcome higher than probability, statistical probability would indicate, and his answer is yes, without a doubt. And he documents this meticulously, chapter by chapter, interesting chapter by chapter in his book. The experiments with the balls coming down in the cage and falling into different slots and so forth. The telepathic experiments where somebody in a room a mile or two away from somebody else is shown a 6-pack of photos and then asked, which photo did that other guy in the other sealed room a mile away try to telepathically send you? They do this repeatedly with many volunteers. I have spoken with several volunteers who scored exceptionally well in laboratory paranormal experiences, and in a future program, perhaps I will speak about that. But I will say this. One man that I spoke to who did exceptionally well said to me when I asked him, well, how did you do it? And he said, well, it wasn't meditation, it wasn't this, it wasn't that, it wasn't that. I simply imagined, and you're going to have to buckle up for this one, I imagined a secretary sitting in an office in Omaha, Nebraska. I said, what? He said, that's right. She gave me the answer as to which photo had been telepathically sent to me over a distance. I said, how does that work? Are you kidding me? He said, no. He said, you'd be surprised at what imagination can do. It was all done on this basis. A secretary sitting in an office in Omaha, Nebraska would be a very sincere person, and she would never lie. And so, in my imagination, I set up that little drama, and she gave me the answer. And the answer turned out to be right at a much higher level than statistical probability would indicate. What I'm getting to here is that people, individuals, come to the paranormal in many, many different ways. Ways that would be considered by the authorities to be completely beyond the pale. Impossible. Couldn't happen that way. But it does. It does. In fact, it happens at one time or another in all of our lives for all of us in our own individual, unique ways. The lid is still on this phenomenon or phenomena. It's actually a whole massive group of paranormal phenomena. Has not been released into the culture in a way that is acceptable enough to enough people.
John,
I'll leave it there.
John, yeah, exactly. Let me jump in. That was absolutely mesmerizing. And I want to, let me jump in really quick and jump back to VAXXED. When it comes to the autism numbers, is there a black and white sense of documentation on the increase of autism before and after the vaccination craze?
Yeah, it's something like it was 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 68.
How can this stay ignored?
Powerful forces, Jimmy. I mean, very powerful forces that are connected everywhere, into the media, into nonprofit major foundations. I located a group out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, that has distributed, probably 100 billion pieces of information on paper, online, whatever, about the pro-vaccine stance. Not just that it's a good idea, but that it has to happen. It has to happen for everybody, and any outliers are dangerous, very dangerous. This is now, the era of dangerous speech, where now there are many authorities that are collecting and coming at us with this idea that free speech is limited at the wall where dangerous speech begins. And they are the rulers who decide what that is, of course. And that's what happened to this movie. Phone calls were placed to people who were the sponsors of the film festival at Tribeca. There were interventions from a group that I would call a front group for the CDC, because the CDC doesn't want this film to be shown. The Sloan Foundation, as was exposed by Mike Adams, certainly had a role in this. Their history goes all the way back into all kinds of horrendous things. A kind of many-vector attack on this whole idea that people could see a film and make up their own minds about it.
Yeah, 1 in 10,000 is too much. But when you get to 1 in 68, that means you walk down the street and you take a look around and you can see somebody with autism. And
yeah, that's right.
That's extreme.
That is tremendously extreme, and the level is rising. And also, sometimes you don't see when you walk down the street. You would only know if you began to talk to somebody.
Right.
And you would say, something's off here. And it is.
Yeah, and really quick, before I let you go, astronauts and the paranormal, what's interesting, the first thing that I think of that is obvious is gravity, or the lack of, or also atmosphere, right? Is that what is going on, first off? And the second part of the question is, are there paranormal experiences that they are having out in space more frequent than what we would be having here on Earth? And does space have something to do with it?
I would say yes to the last question. It seems to be more frequent. It seems, I would agree with you that once you get out of the gravity well, from the people that I've spoken with, a change does occur in many people. You know, when I say many, I mean a significant percentage of the people who go out into space beyond the gravitational pull will begin to have different experiences. And then I think it's also the fact that we're talking about you're in a revolutionarily new location all of a sudden.
Your body, right.
Your body and your mind.
Right.
Everything. You know, it's not a long time before you're in that place. And then your familiar status quo of mental life This is here and that's there, and I know this and I believe that, and I've got it all, worked out. Your view of reality is torpedoed. And then you begin having these experiences because your own trap doors and walls that you build against that are taken away all of a sudden, and then you begin to, wait a minute here.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other question that I have, and thank you for this very, very awesome premiere tonight for No More Fake Newsroom, is did they have paranormal experiences before they went to space? And that's the other key question that we need to find out.
That is. I think in some cases the answer is no.
Yeah, exactly right. Hey, John, awesome job, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy.
And we'll see you next week right here. No More Fake Newsroom. Jon Rappoport next Thursday night. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about. This is Fader Night Thursday night. Taking your calls next. 323-825-5045. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you, Jon Rappoport. His website, of course, is nomorefakenews.com. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I got to tell you, it was a relief. National tax experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil three-letter. So, seriously. Give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up. Standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletzky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fadernauts rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Odom. You're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
right. I ran things out of order because John had me sucked in. That was John's new music, and that's the way it goes. So I thought I would go ahead and do that. But, he had me transfixed. He had me mesmerized. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. It is Thursday night, Fader Night. Open lines all night long. 323-825-5045. Got a lot to talk about tonight. Let me set some things on the table before I get to some more of this crazy news that you know nothing about. Number one, we had our Secret Space Program week. This week we had Corey Good. We had Joseph P. Farrell. We had Richard Dolan. I want to hear from you. Who was the best? Who was your favorite night this week? All three different points of view. All amazing nights. All great speakers. And I want to talk about that and your take on this Secret Space Program. So I want to do that. Also, Jon Rappoport just got through, VAXXED. I've been reading about it all week and the controversy behind the film, and I totally understand it. And it's not going to get any better. And I'm glad that John came on tonight. Surprised me. I had no idea what he was going to cover tonight. And VAXXED is a big deal. And so we can talk about that, too, as well. And astronauts in the paranormal. That's a very, very, very interesting take. The brain without gravity, what does it do? What does it open up? Right? That is really interesting. And why astronauts? I've always thought that every time you see an astronaut get interviewed when they come back, I don't care who it is. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Space shuttle crews, International Space Station crews, Apollo, whatever. When they come back, they're changed. They are. And I have always felt that they have never, ever, ever told or spoken about what they really want to talk about. You know? It was always just the status quo coming out of them, coming back. I mean, I want to know, what did you see when you looked out the window, man? No talks like that. No talks about the fantastical and how they felt personally. And it was always like they were reading from a book. I've always felt that. And if they are having paranormal experiences and dreams and visitations and visions, why wouldn't they be able to talk about that? As a matter of fact, why haven't they ever talked about what their dreams were like? Well, besides, how did they go to the bathroom? I've always wondered about that. It's got to be a complete drag to be in a spacesuit for 8 days. Yeah, I don't care. I mean, how sitting in a space capsule, no shower, you got to be really ripe. They don't talk about that, do they? Oh, man, crazy. Okay, I've just opened up the phone lines. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hey, Jimmy.
You're live.
Yeah, Jimmy, this is Sean.
Hey, Sean, how are you?
Good, man. Hey, first of all, I'd like to put my vote in for Mr. Dolan.
Fair enough.
On the strength of his most callers are lame comment, so
yeah, right.
Maybe see him take 2 hours of Q&A. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Hey, couple things. First of all, you did the thing with Corey, and you asked him about the Malibu Basin, and he had your information about that.
Yep.
And he mentioned a lake in Nevada.
Yes.
You mentioned China Lake. I grew up in a little town called Bishop up by Amana. And we have, there's a lake up there called Walker Lake. It's in, up by Hawthorne, Nevada. And we used to go water skiing up there all the time. And all the old timers used to talk about submarines in that lake. And this goes back to the early 80s. So when he said that, that kind of caught my attention there. But there was always that kind of I don't know if it was an urban legend or, just whatever, about submarines in Walker Lake. And that's in Nevada, up by Reno.
Is that what it's called, Walker Lake?
Yeah, the town is Hawthorne, Nevada. It's on Highway 95 between Reno and Tonopah.
Yeah, that's right. And there's an actual sign when you're driving up there, through the mountains that says the Underwater Naval Testing Center with an arrow. It's like, what? Why would they be doing that here?
Yeah, I remember always, my dad and his buddies would always talk about submarines up there, and they didn't know where they came from, but it seemed like common knowledge. It was just kind of strange, but when Corey said that really kind of perked my interest. Also, on Sunday night on Coast to Coast with Nap, he had on the lead singer and guitarist from
Blink-182, Tom DeLonge.
Right, and are you aware of what he's claiming or what he talked about? Or
yeah, I didn't listen to the show, but I'm quite familiar with his experiences and the stuff that he's talking about. I didn't listen to the show. Anything interesting for you?
Well, he claimed that the thing that really struck me, and it kind of went against everything that came that all three of the guests this week talked about, and obviously your theme with the missing trillions of dollars, was that he acknowledged that the government was doing stuff in secret. Also, that his claim overriding was the fact they were doing it, and they should be commended for it. They were doing a good thing, and everything that I've learned about it's more bad than good, in my opinion. But he seems to think that they're really they're protecting us from something that's very bad, and someday they'll be they should be hailed as heroes for what they've been doing all these years. And to me, it just kind of struck me that he's being hoodwinked or being led down the wrong path. That's what I came. That's the way I came across today. So I wasn't sure if you.
Well, that's Sean, and I appreciate that. There's a couple of different ways to look at Tom DeLonge, and the first one for me is that Tom has a lot of money, and he is able to go and do research into this on his own and not worry about working 9 to 5 and paying the bills and stuff. So he has the ability to go deep and go into dark places and to go and check things out. He's got that ability. But then there's the flip side. He's also has the ability to, because of his fame, to speak to a lot of people and to influence people. So would somebody take advantage of him and his outspokenness on the UFO agenda and information and maybe pump him with some disinfo so he would turn around and repeat it, just like you're saying, and not necessarily become a tool, because he would believe what he was saying and repeating, and he wouldn't necessarily know what was going on. And I hope you understand what I'm saying, because, I like Blink-182 and I like Tom DeLonge. And I know that he's really, really interested in this and very outspoken about it. But you raise some really good points. Why would he turn around and say, it's a good thing? That's a pretty strange message coming from somebody when he didn't really have that message a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he claims to be guided by certain military brass that are way up to the top, and but like I said, everything that you guys talked about with Corey and the other two guests, it was completely opposite of that, and opposite of. I mean, that was really strange. You and Rich Dolan talked about Glenn Campbell last night. I remember when I got my first computer, and he lived out there at Rachel, out by Area 51, and I hadn't heard that guy's name for a long time. But I remember, researching back in the 90s and I heard about that guy. So, but it's never come across to me as anything but, something, in my opinion, we should all know about. And I don't see anything, how anybody could be a hero for hiding this for how many years now. So I think he's in the right place as far as if he feels, but I think he's being misled. That's the way I look at it. So.
Did George ask him about that? Did George ask him if he was being misled? I mean, George is a really good interviewer, and George asks the right questions, and he doesn't really mess around. I know him and Tom are friends. Okay, I know this, but I mean, did he confront Tom about this?
I don't know if he directly came across. I remember Nat back in 89 or 88 when he broke the whole Bob Lazar thing. So he didn't really come out. He didn't say it the way that I said it, but I think he did ask him, do you think maybe you're being given the wrong information, or,
Wow.
But
wow.
I don't think he got real aggressive with him now. But,
Right. Well, I've reached out to Tom and to him and his people, but I think Tom really, he's chosen a couple of different journalists to interface with and to speak through, and Knapp is one of them. And I don't know if Tom would be as comfortable on this show speaking about this as he is with George, and I have to respect that. That's fine. But and you know me, I'm an open-minded guy, and I'm a music lover too as well, and maybe I could connect through Tom on some other levels and get him to open up a little bit. But I'm just not too sure if he is open to coming on a show like this or other shows because he's got a relationship with George, and I think he's going to stay right there and then continue doing what he's doing. But we've reached out to him, and he probably is listening right now. But I think he's really close with George and comfortable with George, and I would love to get him on the show. So, Tom, you have my email address, and if you'd like to come on and speak a little bit further, a little more candidly, we'll give you the platform, and I think it would be a great night. Hey, Sean, so you're in Vegas, right?
No, I have a Vegas phone number. I'm in St. Louis right now. So.
Oh, you're in St. Louis. Did you used to live in Vegas?
It's a work phone, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, did you used to live in Vegas?
Yeah, I did years ago, but I've had the same number, yeah.
Okay. Well, my question is, because, the proximity to Area 51, and once you spend a lot of time out there, did you see anything strange? And bringing up Glenn Campbell says to me that, you're a Vegas guy.
Yeah, actually, I had more experiences. I mentioned Bishop. I'm sure you know where Mammoth is, up in the Owens Valley.
Oh, yeah. I've been to Bishop many times.
Okay. That's between Edwards Air Force Base and Tonopah. And I remember there was an old guy at Bishop, and he always used to talk, and I was in high school, he was probably in the 60s or 70s, old cowboy. And he used to talk about the little people up in Tonopah. Referring to the aliens underneath the Tonopah test range.
Interesting.
And he talked up all the time about there was thousands of them that lived underground up there, and he was dead serious. So I remember that as well. Yeah. So, but
well, Bishop is a really small place. What did he do up there? I mean, there's like 2 restaurants and the highway. There's not much in Bishop.
Yeah. He was a rancher. There was a lot of ranches and stuff up there. And he was just an old rancher in town, I remember, So.
Right. Very interesting, Sean. Very interesting. Well, this is the first time you've called in, isn't it? Or is it not?
No, I called in maybe, it was over the last summer. You were talking about 9/11, and I called in with you asked about the comment to Willie Brown. It was made by Condoleezza Rice, and I called in about that.
Oh, man, we haven't talked 9/11 in a year, so it's been a while since you've called in. Well, welcome back to the show, Sean, and great stuff tonight. Thank you, my brother.
All right, thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you so much. Great call. Yeah, Tom DeLonge's situation is a very, very unique one. Blink-182 is no joke. Tom DeLonge has been out there. He's got a lot of influence. And for him to take this turn in his career and go steadfast into the UFO subject is a pretty crazy one. And I remember him, man, what was it? It was about 6 months ago, maybe a little longer, maybe about a year ago, when he said that he was camping out at Area 51, had a tent, and I don't know if anybody was with him or not, but he was out there like UFO hunting, and he was inside of his tent, and something came over his tent, and he came outside making noise, and it changed his life. What he saw that day. Yeah, Tom DeLonge. He's welcome on this show anytime. All right, this report came out today. Check this out, and you don't see this in the media. There is a report claiming that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad will be given refuge in another country as part of an agreement between Washington and Moscow on the future of Syria's peace process. An unnamed senior diplomatic official with knowledge of the alleged agreement said that U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has already told several Arab countries about the plan. The source also went on to say that the agreement was welcomed by members of the UN Security Council. Now, the rumors are out there, but today, the United States and Russia are denying that any agreement is in place. And you know what that means? It means that there probably is. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. It's Thursday night. It's Fader Night. Open lines all night long. The FBI, here we go. It happened, and you knew I wasn't going to let this go. The FBI agreed yesterday to help an Arkansas prosecutor unlock an iPhone and also an iPod belonging to two teenagers accused of killing a couple. Just days after the federal agency announced that it had gained access to that iPhone linked to the gunmen here in California. Now, Faulkner County prosecuting attorney Cody Highland said the FBI agreed to the request from his office and the Conway Police Department on Wednesday. A judge, check this out, a judge on Tuesday agreed to postpone the trial of 18-year-old Hunter Drexler so prosecutors could ask the FBI for help. Drexler's trial was moved from next week to June 27th. Drexler and a 15-year-old Justin Staton are accused of killing Robert and Patricia Cogdell at their home in Conway, 30 miles north of Little Rock, in July. The Cogdells had raised Stanton as their grandson. There you go. It only took once, and the floodgates are now open. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, it's Michael and Cindy. We're sitting up here in the Adirondacks listening to your show.
How you doing, Michael and Cindy?
Hi, Jimmy.
Hey, Cindy.
Yeah, we're doing good. We've had a rough day, but listen, you wanted us to call in with our vote for Joseph Farrell or Richard Dolan or Corey Goode. And we have an opinion about all three, but our vote really has to go towards Richard Dolan being a fellow New Yorker. And
you're going with, wait a minute, you're drawing on state lines?
Well, yeah, we have to draw the line somewhere, right?
I'm going to say this, and thank you for that. What's really strange is that Corey had a big push in the beginning, right? And he's got a good online presence, especially on Facebook. And then my email is all Dolan, right? A couple for Joseph. And then Joseph Farrell has had, it's kind of even right now. And I thought, this is what I thought, and I know that I'm a backwards thinking guy sometimes, but I thought one of them, and I didn't really know who, but I thought one of them was going to run away with it, and that's it. But it's been pretty even.
Well, let's just say this. Corey Good, we happen to identify with him to a very sympathetic degree because, first off, if any of his story is true, then it's true that the guy was blank slated. All right, now I'm sitting here with my lovely bride, and I can tell you that coming out of blank slating is a terrible process, and you lose things and you mix things up. And that's where Richard Dolan kind of said, you know what, I would like a little more specificity when it comes to Corey Good. And he was right. That skepticism is actually a good thing. But my point is, and Cindy will tell you this, when I went through, it doesn't even have a name because so few people go through it, where you come out of blank slating, not everybody survives it, first off. And secondly, usually there's a certain amount of brain damage that occurs. Everybody's seen the movie Men in Black, where it holds up a deneuralizer and zaps you. Well, that synaptic disconnection has an effect. And what I want to say, when I came out of it in January of 2000. I had to teach myself how to feed myself. I couldn't remember which hand I used to feed myself. And Cindy's sitting right here, and she'll verify that. It was a pretty tough time. And yeah, you lose a lot of stuff, but you also remember a lot of stuff. The people who undergo it, not everybody makes it through it. And, there's a lot of things that Richard Dolan brought up, a lot of things that Joseph Farrell brought up. They're all connected, and every one of them are authentic. And I think out of the three, Richard Dolan is probably the guy who's got his most stuff in one bag, so to speak. Joseph Farrell, he's an academic, he's a researcher, and I have nothing but the greatest respect and admiration for that guy because he doesn't authenticate a fact until he researches it to death, and that's a good thing, particularly in the circle of people that you travel in. And Cindy and I up here, our little community up here, we track 24 event horizons that just about everybody in that circle can touch and talk upon intelligibly. And by intelligibly, I mean where you can communicate ideas to each other and share them with the general public. And most of them who are missing other pieces of that puzzle. And you do a very good job of it, by the way. You bring it all together. And
yes, you do.
Yeah. And our big deliberation up here is it's tough to put people in a position where they have to judge between one and the other because each one of them, Richard Dolan, Joseph Farrell, Corey Good, every one of them, in our estimation, is authentic. And they all have authentic pieces of the puzzle. And that's really where your role, and we see this as your role, we see you as being the guy who brings all those pieces of the puzzle together. It's pretty cool to watch, actually. Especially if you're aware of all those different pieces and how they link together.
Yeah.
And, you used the word mesmerize. Well, I recently used that word. It's not a word I use a lot, but it's one I used recently. And I have to tell you, mesmerizing is a good definition of what is going on because a lot of people have been mesmerized to not pay attention to the things that are actually going on in their own world. They've been distracted and mesmerized by things that really have no bearing on them whatsoever.
Well, thank you for all of that, and thank you, Cindy, too, as well. Did you read the Kyle Odom manifesto?
Actually, I did. Yeah, Kyle Odom is an ex-Marine. He's a former Marine. All right, and you know a little bit about my military background, Jimmy. I've been in uniform since I was 10 years old. I recently retired. All right, but I spent a lot of time in a paramilitary organization until I was 13, and I put on an Air Force uniform. And you know, Cindy looked through I call it my I Love Me book. But I've got a whole bunch of pages in that where there's just different things. If I put them all on frames and put them on a wall, I could probably paper my bathroom with them. But the thing about Kyle Odom is that he got too much too soon. All right, he was legitimate as well. And you know where he's sitting right now? He's sitting in some psychiatric center somewhere.
I know, right? Hey, listen, you two. I got to head to a break. But thank you for the phone call, and again, man, everything that you just touched upon right now is exactly what this show is about, and I'm just glad. I'm just glad that you guys.
We know that, and listen, you know what? We're going to send you a little bit of brand new fresh maple syrup, and some New York, some fresh maple honey too. So look for that now.
Thank you so much, Michael. See you, Cindy.
Bye, Jimmy. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
All right, good night. Bye.
This is Fade to Black. It's Fader Night, 323-825-5045.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Not being able to fall asleep is so frustrating. The tossing, the turning, the adjustment of pillows and blankets. Eventually you just decide to get up and start your day really early. It doesn't have to be this way though. Power Sleep is an all-natural non-prescription formula that will help you sleep like a baby. It contains neurotransmitter nutrients that promote the production of serotonin, which is responsible for feelings of well-being. Power Sleep is easy to digest and absorb and is made in a base of active probiotics. Don't miss another night of sleep. Order your Power Sleep at energywave.com or call 800-TURTLE-5. Add Power Vites to your cart while you're browsing. Perfect for Monday mornings. They're a complete multivitamin and mineral formula that will give you the energy you need to get through your day. Nourish your immune system and feel great. Get all the info and place your order at energywave.com. Enter code word SLEEP to get free shipping. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With the mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. It's Thursday night. It is Fader Night. You know what that means. 323-825-5045. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Now, this is the thing about Fader Night. Being able to just open up the phone lines, let it rip, let it go. And after the week that we've had here on the show, listening to 3 great evenings of conversation, it opens up the mind. And there is a lot of things that are going on around the world right now. And you listen, to Corey and to Joseph and to Dolan, to Richard, and you start to really think, things are not what they seem, man. Let's go back to the phones. Eric, what's up, brother?
Hey, brother, how you doing?
Would you sell a kidney for $50,000?
Hell no.
You wouldn't?
Oh, I wouldn't sell a kidney for $200,000. I would. No way. Ain't happening.
What? Don't you have 2? I mean, you can live without one, right?
You know what? I'm not letting any medical facility going into my body because who knows what they're going to do with those parts. I mean, I believe in cloning, so that's how crazy I am. So who knows what they would try to do with my body parts?
Yeah, but suppose you meet some woman, right, at a bar. You go back to her hotel room, and you wake up in the morning, right, with the scar and $200,000 on the bed. Are you okay with that?
No, but that stuff happens, as you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's not a joke. That really happens, sadly to say.
Oh man, $50,000. That's a pretty crazy. 59% of Americans. Now, does that say, 59% of Americans are willing to do that? Is that a status of the economy? Is it a status of lack of morals? Or does everybody know that you can live on one kidney and it doesn't matter? I don't know. I don't know what that means, but 59% is an overwhelming majority. Anybody would want a 59% in the polls, right?
Yeah, I think it's economy, and I think it's, the media pumping up the fact that, we're in a materialistic society. And, I mean, what can you buy with $50,000? You could buy a brand new 4-wheel drive, Toyota Tundra or whatever. I mean, that's what everybody wants to have. So that's like $50,000. I want one of those. I'll give you a kidney.
All right. So what's going on, Eric?
So, yeah, this Kyle Odom, I'm on Twitter a lot. I got a lot of free time during the week, and that whole story popped up on March 6th, just about 25 days ago.
Right.
And it came and went real fast. I mean, I've kind of kept it alive. A few people have tweeted about it, but, I'll do this just for the viewers or the listeners who don't know what happened. I'm going to tell them real quickly what happened, and I'm going to give a little background on Kyle because based on my research, and I've done a ridiculous amount of research, I don't think the guy's crazy or insane. And I know when you first hear the story, the first thing most people are going to think is this guy's nuts.
Well, what I did, Eric, I mean, of course, I hear a story like that and Martian invasion and, so I was pretty fascinated with it and I got into it. And then I did, that first day I read his 21 page manifesto, if you want to call it that. And then I read it again a couple of days ago, and then today I read it for the third time. And what is disturbing to me about the manifesto is he is obviously smart. Okay,
yes.
Now, did he come unhinged? I mean, that's what somebody's going to say. Did he come unglued? Remember Dolan's first comment last night was, and I understand why Dolan would say that because, on the surface, somebody's come unhinged. But you go and you read this manifesto, and you suddenly realize that this guy comes from substance. Okay, he's got a brain. He's very educated, and he is the way that manifesto was written. It's not a crazy. I mean, the content is pretty tough to digest, but the English, the grammar, and the way that it is written is proper. You remember the Unabomber, right? Kaczynski?
Yeah.
Okay. You remember that manifesto? Okay.
I didn't. I don't remember reading the details of it, but what you can tell me probably better, though.
Well, no, I can tell you right now. Deranged, lunatic, maniac, crazy guy that lived in a cabin in the woods. That's the way, and I had people tell me back then, oh, he's really smart. Wait till you read this. You're going to see that he's really educated. You know what? No, that was the meanderings of a madman.
I have to agree. From what I can tell, I agree with you on that.
Kyle Odom. This manifesto flips me out. Okay.
Well, let me just tell you what jumps out at me real quick, because I went on his LinkedIn. Did you see his LinkedIn page?
No, I didn't go that far.
I'm not kidding you. I read that today for the first time, and I'm kind of an emotional guy, but I'm not a crazy dude. But the bottom line is, I almost started to cry, because this is what his studies include: molecular biology, analytical and organic chemistry, bacterial transformation, DNA electrophoresis, human genetics, and most interesting, molecular cloning. That's what he studied at Idaho University, got a 3.96 GPA, graduated magna cum laude, and then Baylor was begging him to come there to be part of their human genetic program. So what does that tell you right there?
Intelligence. Smarter than me.
And the thing is that the guy grew up in as you know, in a loving family. He entered the Marines in 2006. He had a 4-year commitment. He did excellent. He had an honorable discharge with excellence, no issues. He served his 4 years. Went to Idaho, and then where the problem started, and I talked a lot about this with Reverend Jon Rappoport, because he's big time into meditating. For some reason, John likes to summon whatever it is he's summoning, and he does it through his meditations. And that's how this all started with Kyle Odom, as you know.
Go ahead. No, I'm going to let you finish. But when he talks about that only meditation when this happened, and the blue sphere, and the way that he describes that and how it happened, it makes you wonder, and it's very similar to other things that we have heard over the last few years. But go ahead.
Yeah, so the bottom line for those of you who don't know, he's in jail right now. He's going to be going back to court on April 6th. He has a public defender. This is going to probably blow some minds. I tried to contact the jail where he's at as an anonymous citizen, and I wanted to put money on his books, because I wanted to be able to see if I can somehow connect with him. I wanted to try to see if I can have a phone conversation with him, or just some sort of connection. I was completely shut down. They would not return my calls. They would not return my emails. None of the reporters from the Washington, D.C. News or the Idaho News that broke this story, none of them will return any of my calls or emails or tweets. And then, this is what else is interesting. There's this guy named Ron Deering, who's been tweeting Pastor Tim Remington, pray for him for his recovery. Okay, he was shot 6 times point blank, and he didn't die. But he's recovering. He's in fine shape. But so this guy on Twitter keeps putting out there, he's doing it on the hashtag Kyle Odom. Pray for Tim Remington. And so he puts it out all day, just 10, 15 times in a row, and just kind of washes out the rest of the tweets about Kyle Odom. So I tweeted this guy, Ron Deering, because he's obviously a member of this altar. The church is called the Altar in Idaho, Coeur d'Alene. And so I tweeted him. I said, "How's the pastor doing? How's his recovery coming along?" No response. He's saying he's asking for donations. I tweet him. I say, "I'd like to make a donation. Who do I contact? Can you help me with that?" No response. So today I go on Twitter again, and I'm looking, and he has deleted all his tweets that he has put up about Pastor Tim Remington. Strange stuff. So anyway, so that's what happened there. But as far as the story goes, the bottom line is, he was not, in my opinion, he was not insane, or you couldn't really call him any kind of mentally deranged person until after 2014. When he first started having these experiences, which through the meditation, and and then through the process of trying to block that out of his mind, it wasn't working. These entities, these beings, whatever these things are that he's experiencing, they weren't having it. So eventually, when they left him alone for a while, apparently is what happened. But then when he went to Baylor University to study the human genetics, he was taking a course there with one of the professors, and basically he wasn't learning anything. His whole impression was that he already knew everything that the professor was talking about human genetics, and it already made sense to him. Matter of fact, he was seeing flaws in the professor's presentation. So it's just strange stuff. It's just very strange stuff. I mean, you read the manifesto. It's so long, it would take forever to tell the whole story. But it's just the things he went through with being on the plane.
Well, the one of the curious things, well, there's a lot of things that he points out in there that were pretty amazing to read, but one of them was the track phone. And the guy tells him on the plane to go and get one of these.
Yes.
And so
he's sniffing and sticking his tongue out and laughing at him.
And right. And he goes and he gets the track phone, and it just sits there. And then a month later, he starts getting texts, from
Tim Remington.
From Tim Remington.
Yep.
Out of the blue.
Biblical texts.
Very, very, very strange part of the story. And again, it doesn't, when you read it, it's not a guy that has come unglued. It's just a guy that is talking. It's pretty bizarre, and it's an easy read too. It's not like you read it and you go, okay, and there's a bunch of stuff that goes off in different directions, or delusions and stuff. No, it doesn't read like that. It reads like somebody that's got his head together.
Well, at one point, I mean, he kind of lost his head to some degree because he decided he was going to try to commit suicide. And the first thing he did is he got a Weber, some charcoal briquettes, some lighter fluid, got in his car, rolled up the windows. I'm gonna fume myself out here. I'm gonna end it right now. And apparently, these entities, these beings, whatever they are, he wakes up and they're standing around saying, "No, you can't die. We got a plan for you. You're part of our program. We have a mission." And that freaked him out even more. And then apparently he tried to commit suicide again, and they stopped him again. And then at that point is when he just said, "F it." And then he started going to the church because I think he was probably seeking some sort of spiritual guidance when he's going to this church, the Altar in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And that's when he meets the pastor. And, during one of their conversations, that was kind of a private conversation. I don't believe anybody else was around during the conversation, is when for the first time he recognized this pastor for a few seconds shapeshifts right in front of him. Comes across as this humanoid amphibian Martian. And then that was, I think, the final straw that freaked him out to the point where he just decided, I can't kill myself. I'm going to kill this pastor.
Yeah, he says, I want to read one thing at the end. Oh, his illustrations are pretty crazy, too, as well.
Yeah.
But his thing that he says to Obama, which is right here. Okay, this is his bullet point. He says, "Mr. President, number one, I want to thank you for your sacrifice to this country. Number two, it was upsetting to hear you talk about the things they do to you. Why do you let them? Number three, I suppose you have no other choice. Number four, I've been struggling with them myself for over a year now. Number five, I have nothing to lose, so I chose this instead. I could never tolerate that much abuse. Number six, I hope you don't take any of their threats too seriously. Everything is a game to them. Number seven, realize they consider the entire human race a plaything, including you. Number eight, they brag to me about what they do to you. And I found that really interesting. Number nine, I'm sure you already know, but he doesn't love you. Their brains don't even work that way. Very, very interesting. Number 10, I don't know you personally, but they've shown me a lot about you. You are an amazing person. Number 11, I hope you stop letting them humiliate you. Why be afraid to retaliate? Kennedy wasn't. Number 12, it's time someone took a stand to end this nonsense. Can you think of a better legacy than that? Number 13, what's worse, having everyone know the reality of the situation or watching some of our best and brightest become slaves? And then he ends it with, I wish you the very best with the remainder of your presidency. If you're still in there, stay strong.
Yeah, strong stuff.
Man. I just don't know. I just don't know what to think. Well,
and some of the other things he said in the very first page, which were things that we've all heard before, that, they were here long before we existed. Their technology is millions of years more advanced than ours. They can do things that defy all comprehension, and that they have a massive breeding stock of humans, which they breed and control from birth, kind of like what Dr. David Jacobs said. A lot of it, that clicked in my head when I read that. And when I listen to Dr. David Jacobs, I have a hard time accepting that. But when I hear this, I'm thinking, well, hold on a second here. Maybe he's got something. But he says they use humans to live vicarious lives among us. They appear to be completely normal because they're good at imitating human behavior. The actual Martians live deep underground here and inside of the moon. Heavy stuff.
Yeah. And he goes on to say at the end, he says, to the males, everything is black or white. There's no middle ground. They are power-hungry megalomaniacs, obsessed with control. If they are not 100% in control of every situation, they panic. If something happens that they aren't anticipating, they get very upset. They hate surprises. I know this because I was smart enough to trick them a few times. He says, to recap, the males are megalomaniacal. They are obsessed with sex, extremely aggressive, fearful and paranoid, power hungry, and obsessed with control. And then he says,
sounds like our government.
It sounds like a few people.
A few governments.
And then he says, sound familiar? Who else do you know that has these characteristics? If you answered God from the Bible, you are correct. Martians are responsible for the God myth. Martians have created humans, as they claimed, but they are certainly not gods themselves. They are just another intelligent species evolved in a neighboring planet. There is no God, there is no heaven, there is no hell. Earth is as close to heaven as we'll ever get, and we are letting the Martians ruin it. They are going to destroy Earth just like they destroyed Mars if we let them. Our survival rests in their hands for the time being. And then he says there's one other thing. He says somewhere in here, and I'm paraphrasing, but he goes, if this sounds strange and fantastic, it's because it is. They are millions of years more advanced than us. And and then he says that they materialized a paper bag on the seat of his car when he was driving.
I remember that,
yeah. And I mean, what a strange thing to say. Not a strange thing like it sounds crazy. He didn't say they brought a flying saucer in front of him, right? He doesn't,
right.
It's not that. He's saying that
the details are so amazing that it just lends truth in my heart to what he, Then here's the clincher though. So and what your previous caller was talking about, with the military, because he was in the military, and MK Ultra is and was real. So is it also possible through the mind control programming that has been going on for who knows how long, that through his military service, that somehow these were screen memories that were implanted in him, and so. You know what I'm saying? That's also a possibility.
Well, he says, exactly. He says, why would aliens hide in a church? And he says, same reason terrorists hide in mosques. If you are doing very bad things and you want to avoid getting caught, you will put up a front to make yourself look like a good person. Do you remember when Peter Lavenda talked about the church in the Bronx? Right? And
I don't recall that.
Well, okay. And that's what he talked about. They had no congregation. They didn't have anything else, just a bunch of bishops, no priest, right? Just a bunch of bishops. And all of these guys were part of the FBI. And all of these guys, a couple of them that were part of this church, I can't remember the name of it, but were at the Maury Island UFO incident in 1947, and were also part of the JFK assassination in 1963. Where were they? Hiding in a church. I find that interesting. And then he says, how do you know about their technology? And he says, I've seen them use it. and they've talked to me about it. This was how I learned about their breeding stock of remote-control humans. Physically, their humans are no different than us. They just lack a mind of their own. And then he says, why would they tell you so much? They value me because I'm smart. he says they were also very confident they could take control of my mind. Turns out they couldn't. Anyway, in the interim, some of us developed a personal relationship. They are very arrogant, so they told me much more than they should have. This allowed me to understand some of the things they can do. And I think, okay, he says, what else have you seen? Answer, I have seen them make things appear out of nowhere. One time I was sitting on a couch and a dollar bill appeared on my lap. And then this is the story. Another time while driving, they made a paper bag appear in my passenger seat. They used random, unsuspecting items so no one would think anything of it. I was alone both times this happened. I'm pretty sure they can pop in and out of this dimension based on other things that I've seen. I'm also pretty sure they can overlap our reality with an alternate dimension. I say this because I've gone into stores where I know the employees, and suddenly there are all new employees who I've never seen before. Some of the other things I've seen are pretty strange. I literally cannot describe them. This all makes sense, though. Their technology is millions of years ahead of ours, so it should be incomprehensible to us. Fascinating. Fascinating read.
Well, let me just throw my 2 cents in about, here's my view on it. And, you've got some Vadernauts, Adam Ambrose for one. There's another Adam that lives in Idaho. I'll just tell you real quickly what he told me. He lives right there in Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene, excuse me. Through an agreement that I made with him, I'm not going to give all the details, but the bottom line is that there are 9 active satanic cults currently operating in and around that area where that church is. So that's heavy stuff, and he knows, and that's all I can say about that. There's another guy that's on Twitter right now. I'm not going to reveal his name right now because he hasn't given me permission to, but you have a lot of fans that know a lot of stuff. You'd be surprised. But I think that, and the Anunnaki, for example, I tend to believe that it wasn't just one race. I think the Anunnaki created many races. You had Enlil and Enki, which Jon Polk talks a lot about, but it's starting to add up to me because I just see that there's a lot of different ET races out there, just like there's a lot of human races, and we're not all good and we're not all bad, but we're all fighting and warring constantly, and now it's just being kind of played out through possibly some sort of ET control that, who knows? I mean, I think it has to do with DNA and genetics. I think this guy, Kyle Odom, he had probably a special type of DNA that appealed to these guys and whoever these guys are. And that's why they're targeting him because, they want to use him for part of their agenda. I mean, that's my speculation on the story.
Well, you know what else? And you could probably bank on this. We'll never hear from Kyle Odom again.
Exactly.
That story is closed. Yeah. We're lucky that this manifesto got out and his illustrations got out. And did you see the drawing of the teeth?
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. And then
I hope, hopefully he's got a public defender. I mean, if they don't kill him somehow, or if he doesn't commit suicide, quote unquote, and he's somehow able to at some point have visitors or receive phone calls. But my prediction is they're never going to let that happen. They're never going to send him back to Idaho, where legally is where he's supposed to be, because that's where the crime was committed. They're going to keep him in Washington D.C. and they're going to squash his story. That's what I predict.
Yeah, once you're in a psych ward, you can. That's it. That's a life. That's a life sentence right there. That's it. Done. Yeah. You're never going to hear from Kyle Odom again.
It's sad.
Yep. Thank you for the phone call, Eric. Excellent
brother.
phone
Good
call.
Talking to you.
And have a great rest of your evening.
You too, buddy. Talk to you then.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Yeah, Kyle Odom. And now the manifesto's been posted up here on Twitter. And let me, I will go and retweet it. I just saw it here. Anyway, okay, I'll pick it up during the break. And when I do, I'll post it. Okay, I have it right here. This is Fade to Black, Fader Night. Open lines all night long. 323-825-5045. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Kyle Odom, unbelievable story. I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
If your home has hard water and it's leaving white spots, then it's likely that limescale is clogging your pipes. Limescale can cost hundreds of dollars a year in wasted energy and early appliance breakdown. HydroCare systems available at Wave Home Solutions prevent and remove limescale with just a simple filter change every 3 years. There are no salts, chemicals, or magnetic coils. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, just go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
If you're a talk radio fan, AccessRadio.net lets you listen to the best talk shows anytime and from anywhere. Works on your mobile or landline phone, and there's no cost if you have unlimited minutes. No need to use your data. Find your favorite talk show listen lines and discover new ones. Now you can listen on your schedule. Go to AccessRadio.net. That's AccessRadio.net. Save your favorite listen lines today.
Hi, I'm Richard Dolan. When I'm not hosting my radio program, The Richard Dolan Show on KGRA, or writing new books on UFOs, I run a publishing company. I'm proud to say that Richard Dolan Press has published some of the most fascinating books available on UFOs and related subjects. They include Dr. Bruce Maccabee's classic analysis of the UFO cover-up, David Marler's breakthrough book on triangular UFOs, Dr. Richard Sauter's unique work on underground bases, and other classics by Grant Cameron, Chase Kletsky, and Dr. Bob Wood, not to mention intriguing works by Eve Lorgan and Laurie MacDonald that deal with truly bizarre phenomena. I'm proud to publish such high-quality and original works, and there are several amazing books about to be released over the next few months. Go to richarddolanpress.com to learn more.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. Open lines all night long. First-time callers always get something from the junk drawer. Always. 323-825-5045. Yeah, that Kyle Odom manifesto is pretty crazy. And, I just posted, yes, okay, so it's up. I just posted out the links to it in Twitter. Go and check it out. Now, the illustrations at the end of it, by the way, and some of the writing from his notebook is pretty interesting. But his thing about the teeth at the bottom is interesting. His drawings, you've got to see this. His the facial, it's a reptilian, but a funny shape on the top of the head that I've never seen anybody else talk about before. That's pretty interesting. And then he says, and this is his drawing right out of his notebook in his own handwriting. He says, huge eyes that stuck out of the sockets, yellow-brown iris, projecting muzzle with the 45-degree angled nostrils, which are there, yes. Huge mouth, dark green skin. The only part I really saw was the eyes. Interesting. Another page from his notebook. This is a straight-out notebook, lined paper, notebook, right? He says, this is what their teeth look like. Now, I think he says Selmo rules the world. Celmo. Selmo rules the world. Something they kept saying to me. Again, they only revealed bits and pieces to me, and very briefly. Thankfully, this is in his own handwriting. Thankfully, I have a photographic memory, so I was able to remember what I saw. Although I only remember the general appearance because each time I saw them, it was very brief. I would smile. I think that's what he says, smile. Oh, they would smile at me in stores and reveal their mouth, eyes, nose, all separately, never together at the same time. Wow. Kyle Odom. And then he ends this last page. He gives 3 different lists of noteworthy Martians. Gives a list of U.S. senators in the U.S. House of Representatives and in the Israeli leadership. Long list, too. And he says, this is by no means an all-inclusive list. Yeah, they exist at every level of society in every nation. Some have blue-collar jobs, while others occupy positions of power. They control our government, our military, and our corporate America as well. They keep track of every wild, in quotes, human on the planet and manage us like animals in a zoo. Our freedom is carefully crafted illusion. He gives a definition. Let me go up here. Let me find this. Where is this? He gives a definition of wild humans. Where is this? It's a long manifesto. Just stay with me. Stay with me. Stay with me. Yeah, right here. Got it. To make it very clear, Tim and John were not wild humans. Wild humans are normal people like you and I. Tim and John, minds were controlled from birth by Martians. It's hard to imagine, I know. Nonetheless, it's all true. Why would I give up a career as a pharmacist to do this? And he goes on to say, I've left out many details from my story. I wanted to write only the most critical events in order to make it coherent. If you want to know more, like how I discovered there are multiple species of them, feel free to write me. Unbelievable. You need to read it for yourself. It's pretty interesting. All right, 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. Fade to Black, Fader Night, Thursday night, open lines all night long. All right, in less than 24 hours, Anonymous will officially launch a cyber attack on Republican frontrunner Donald Trump. They've been talking about this for a couple of weeks. The hacker group declared total war on Trump on March 15th with a video posted on its YouTube channel dubbed Operation Trump. In the video, Anonymous invites hackers and anyone with a computer to shut down the billionaire businessman's websites, expose his private information, and, quoting here, dismantle his campaign and sabotage his brand on April 1st, tomorrow. Are you ready? It started to come unravel today. Man, those comments, I'm not going to get into it. Just not going to do it. Not going to do it. The latest warning about global warming was published today in the scientific journal Nature. And it says melting ice in Antarctica has the potential to contribute to the rise in sea levels of 1 meter. That's more than 3 feet by the end of this century. Now, it says that with ice also melting in other parts of the world, seas could rise 5 or 6 feet by the end of the century, far more than predicted in the 2013 UN study. What does that really mean? You know, and is there, look, everybody, please, just go with me on this. Is there global warming or not? Are the glaciers melting, or is there more ice today than there was last year? Nothing but conflicting reports. Number 2, this is like the coldest, craziest winter ever that we just came out of. It's still snowing around the country, right? So what is really going on? You know, I really don't know. I just don't know. You know, was that entire presentation by Al Gore a bunch of BS? Or was it real? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who to believe. I don't know. Is it natural? Is it the sun doing this? Is it us? If it is indeed changing. Is it pollution? There's less pollution today than there was before, at least in this country. I talk about it all the time. Can't speak for India and China. It's pretty messed up. But around here in L.A., you can breathe every day. There's no rain. But, you know, I just don't know. I don't. And I go and I read this, and that's freaky. 6 feet? Really? Well, there goes Florida for sure. You know? It's pretty freaky. All right. I posted this today over on our Facebook page, Jimmy Church Radio. Pentagon's research agency, DARPA, has beefed up the U.S. underwater warfare capabilities by launching a futuristic autonomous drone. It's a ship. It's a boat drone designed to hunt down stealthy, silent enemy submarines. You've got to see what this thing looks like. Tons of video, too. The Surface Anti-Submarine Sea Hunter, part of the ACT UV program, has already completed speed test, where it reached a top speed of 27 knots. This thing is real. DARPA revealed at the design stage that the non-conventional sensor technologies were sought to help the robotic hunter robustly track quiet diesel-electric subs over thousands of kilometers without zero human involvement. And it will pursue intelligent adversaries for months at a time. It is the craziest. Now, you can go, there's, probably 3 or 4 videos. It's ready to go. And it looks like, how do I explain this? Like a trimaran. And if you don't know what a trimaran is, that's you got your central hull, and then sticking out of each side, starboard and port, are a couple of more pontoons. So there's actually 3 hulls on the ship. And the outer 2 keep it stabilized so it can't tip over. No matter what goes on, this thing can't tip over. And it's big. It's 130 feet. It's a drone. A ship, a boat drone. 3 hulls, ready to go. Now, they are saying right now, not only is it going through sea trials and speed trials, but they are ready, I think what I read today, that they're going to have like 20 or 40 of these operational by 2018, like deployed. Absolutely crazy and an amazing video. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Really?
Yes, you are live.
Oh, my. Oh, okay. I couldn't hear myself. I'm calling. I was just looking at the Kyle Odom manifesto. I finally found a way to download it on my phone. And I looked at the picture of the being that he had drawn.
Right. Oh, what's your name? What's your name?
My name's Lisa. I live in Southeast Kansas.
Okay, Lisa, go ahead. Sorry.
And that image reminds me of the Grinch who stole Christmas.
Yeah, right?
It totally does. And I looked on my phone because I've got you on the computer, too, and I was like, my God, that's the Grinch that stole Christmas.
Yeah, he looks like Tim Curry.
Yeah.
You remember Tim Curry when he smiled?
Yeah, very scary.
Yeah, and
Wait a minute.
Lisa, did you read any of the manifesto yet?
Well, you read so much of it on the show tonight, and I was scanning it, and then I got to the pictures, and I was like, oh, it's the Grinch.
And now,
so I wonder what correlation there is.
Yeah, right. Now that's fascinating that you bring that up. We all, you and I and everybody else, we've all seen the movies and seen the eyewitness testimony and the drawings and the models and stuff of Greys and aliens and the Nordics and the Palladians. We've seen them all. Have you ever seen an alien represented like this?
Not like that.
Yeah. And that's what I
But
find.
I have had an experience.
What happened?
I'll share it with you. I used to be a full-time RVer. I sold advertising and traveled full-time in the RV. I had a business partner. I slept on the couch. And it was in the first couple of years we were on the road, and I woke up in the middle of the night, flat on my back on the couch, wide awake, but I couldn't move and I couldn't talk with my mouth. And down by the steering wheel in the cockpit of the coach, there was a taller, and these look like, your typical Greys, okay? A tall one, and flanked right and left, little shorter ones. So one was maybe 4.5 feet tall. The other ones were maybe around 3 feet tall, just right around as tall as the steering wheel. And I couldn't say anything. And they were completely quiet. If they were talking to me telepathically or whatever, I couldn't hear them. But I had a question. And oddly enough, the question wasn't, do aliens really exist or do ETs exist? It was basically, where did I come from? And the weird part is, I read a book as a little girl that was by P.D. Eastman, and I had to look it up after the fact. The book was about a little robin, I think, that goes around in the woods asking, "Are you my mother?" She goes around and she meets all the little woodland creatures, and she says, "Are you my mother?" And I forget how the book ends. I think she finds her mom finally. But in my mind, I kept saying, "Are you my mother?" And they wouldn't answer me. And that was the only thing. And I repeated that, and I remember in my mind, I was just finally yelling at them, saying, "Are you my mother?" They wouldn't answer me. Next thing I know, it's morning. I wake up. I remember it all very clearly. They had just vanished, and I really didn't think anything about it. Wasn't scared. And I told my business partner about it at breakfast.
And how'd that go?
Fine, like whatever.
Okay, fair enough.
That was the typical response to that kind of stuff. It made whatever. And I've told a few select other friends about it. And the two guys that were good friends of mine back before I started RVing, and I lived in New York City. I used to be a flight attendant, and they were big UFO researchers, and I called them and I told them about it, and they said I probably scared them off. But
well, let me
that
ask
was
you.
my experience. I've never forgotten about it, and I was sober as a judge, and
Lisa,
I hadn't had even a glass of wine.
Lisa, let me jump in. I've got some questions for you. You were in an RV, so what part of the country, what state, what city did this happen in?
This was down in Texas, in Livingston, Texas.
Was it the only time that you've had an experience like this?
The only time I've had an experience like that, yeah. I've seen craft or whatever, orbs, and one craft I saw when I was a little girl, probably 7 or 8 years old, and my sister was very little because she's 4 years younger. And then I had 2 girlfriends. Our little girlfriends saw it, and it was, oddly enough, and I've started to tell, or tried to tell Linda Moulton Howe about this, because it appeared and it was pretty large, and it was back behind a meat packing plant.
Coincidence?
So they were slaughtering cattle.
Yeah, coincidence.
I've had a bit of a weird life and quite a few oddball experiences here and there.
Well, let's go back to that night. Okay, so you wake up, and you said 2 were smaller, right? Is that, did I understand you right? That there was 1 taller and then 2 smaller ones?
Yes, 1 tall and 2 smaller ones.
Do you think that they were children of the big one? Did they?
I didn't really think of them as children.
Okay.
I thought they were probably sidekicks.
Any sidekicks? Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Yeah, right.
You know, they were there. You know, the other one was probably the boss, and they were the flunkies.
I got you.
Maybe.
Did you smell anything strange?
No, I did not. And I have heard that people smell things, but I did not.
Did you see any lights or anything like that?
No lights.
And how do you think they got in to, I mean, did you guys have the doors unlocked?
That's a good question. I think I always lock the door at night.
Yeah. And you said one was sitting behind the wheel. Was he?
They were no, not sitting. They were standing next to the steering wheel.
Oh,
okay. And this was a Bluebird Wander Lodge, and the steering wheel was a big steering wheel that's kind of, you know, almost flat.
Right.
Not vertical like it is in a car.
Right.
And it's very big. And they were standing right next to the driver's seat. The taller one was standing in the back, and the other 2 were at flank, you know, at his side, but slightly in front of him.
And your communication, you were speaking out loud, right?
Mm-mm.
This was...
Only in my mind. I couldn't speak.
Oh, I got you.
I could not speak.
Did they talk back? Did they respond to you at all?
No, they would not answer me.
And they just... Were they looking at you?
Yes, they were staring at me, and I was staring at them.
And what can you tell me? This is interesting, Lisa, and thank you for the phone call.
Sure.
What did their eyes look like? Have you ever drawn them or taken it that far?
I haven't, but they, you know, look like what you see, even like the little stickers, you know, little gray aliens, or, you know, sometimes they're colored green with the almond-shaped eyes that are black. They had that real pale, grayish, pallid skin with the big bulbous heads, the little skinny necks, real kind of frail looking. I don't remember saying how many fingers they had.
Were you?
I don't know. That wasn't something I took notice of.
Were you scared?
No. Not at all.
That's.
I got frustrated with them because they wouldn't answer my question.
How long did this? How long did the whole encounter last?
Probably a couple of minutes.
Right. Now, what about clothes?
They were not wearing any kind of clothes like we would wear.
They were naked?
It just looked like their skin. Yeah. I guess they were naked.
Did you look for
racy aliens?
Yeah. Did you look for any male or female parts? If you know what I mean.
No, I didn't.
Okay. So no shoes. Did you notice if they had shoes on?
Laying down flat on my back on that couch, I couldn't see their feet.
Yeah. Same thing happened to me. I couldn't see feet either, so I couldn't answer that question. That's interesting that...
Yeah, I didn't notice their hands. I think I might. I probably could have seen their hands, but I didn't notice, and I couldn't see their feet.
Did they ever move?
Slowly.
Like take a step?
Kind of.
Did they take a step?
No, they didn't. Mm-mm. It was like they shifted their weight, maybe, on their feet.
Right. And oh yeah, my favorite question: did they blink?
That's a good question. I don't think so. No. Which we all know is supposed to be a telltale sign, right?
Yeah. Well, it's just interesting. The reason why I'm asking you all of these is because, the details, are what is always fun with this. It's the little tiny little things.
Sure.
Did they look at each other ever?
No.
They only looked at you.
Mm-hmm.
And now you had also mentioned that you couldn't move. Do you think you couldn't move because they were there, like they were making you immobile? Or do you think that it was some type of, paralysis that was self-induced?
Well, of course, I'm aware of all the studies about, whatever it is, dream paralysis or whatever.
That's right.
I've never had it happen before. I've never had it happen since. I assumed it was because they were there.
Could you lift your head up? Do you remember that? Could you lift your head up, or were you stuck in that position?
I don't know whether I was able to lift my head up or not. It seemed like I was able to lift only my head, maybe, and I'm guessing.
Right.
But I didn't have difficulty, It was like I was flat on my back, and then I lifted up my head and looked, and there they were. So everything else was completely horizontal. I lifted my head and saw them.
Did you, you said it lasted for a couple of minutes, so you just fell back asleep?
Mm-hmm.
And why, do you think they put you to sleep?
I don't think they put me to sleep. I think, like I said, I was asking them that question, are you my mother? Because I wanted to know. I must have been completely regressed.
Right.
Asking, because in my adult mind, I was asking, where did I come from? And just going, come on, tell me, where did I come from? And I remember just feeling really frustrated, and they vanished, and I was like, fine,
Wow.
Go away, whatever.
Wow.
And, yeah, that's how I felt.
Wow. How do you, after something like that, you get up the next day, you're talking to your partner about it. What were you thinking? Not if you were crazy. I mean, were you thinking us or them? Were you thinking that this was ET, that this was an off-world, visitation type of thing, or it possibly could have been somebody from Earth?
In that particular case, at that point in time, I thought it was ET.
Right.
Without a doubt.
Right. And what? How do you feel now when you see ET on television? In a reenactment or in a movie, is it accurate? Is it accurate? Do you think that they're being represented the right way? Versus, because you've seen,
Well, after I stopped RVing and moved back to a stationary home, I never bought a TV. So I haven't been watching TV now for almost 4 years. And I'm fine with that. So I do a lot of research online and watch a lot of videos and listen to your show, of course. And here's a bottom line for you. Here's my thought. I think we're going to bite off a whole huge chunk, and it has way more to do than just with are we alone in the universe or not. I think we are going to find out, in addition to the fact that we're not alone, where we came from and where we go when we die. And I'll tell you why the latter. And that is because even I think your interview with Whitley Strieber, didn't he have an experience with like 3 little blue orbs? Kyle Odom that you were talking about had an experience with blue orbs. You had a guest on. She was somewhat young, definitely younger than I am, single lady. She was an experiencer. Maybe it was either her that had an experience with blue orbs, or it was the couple that had that experience out in the Mojave Desert, maybe.
Right.
And they were at home, and she had an experience with 3 blue orbs at the foot of the bed, and she just all freaked out every time she saw them.
Mm-hmm. Susan Chancellor had her experience like that.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that's.
And that seems like more. And then tonight, Jon Rappoport talking about the astronauts seeing the dead, their dead relatives, while they're in space.
Right.
That's kind of why I wonder, or why maybe the, quote, powers that be are trying to figure out how to let us, get the information, just like Corey was talking about on Monday night.
Right.
I think, we might have done one of those be careful what you wish for things.
Lisa, I've got to head to a break. That was an unbelievable story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Hey, you're welcome. I've actually been wanting to be able to share that with you or somebody.
Thank you. And do me a favor. Just write Rita off of our website. Go to the contact page. Send us your information with your phone number, and we'll put something in the mail to you.
Oh, hey, that's awesome. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Lisa. You have a great, safe night.
Hey, you're welcome, Jimmy. Thank you. You too. Good night.
This is Fader Night, 323-825-5045. More of your calls right after this short break. Stay right there.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Angioprim can clean blocked arteries and improve blood flow in all parts of your body. Angioprim is liquid oral chelation. It's not new science. 50 years of research has gone into chelation, and now there's Angioprim. Easy, simple, liquid oral chelation. You take it with juice before breakfast and forget about it. Angioprim works fast, unlike old-fashioned chelation that takes hours. The first thing Angioprim users say is they have more energy, more strength, more endurance. Increased circulation and blood flow will make all your body parts work better. Log on now at angioprim.com to get more information on how you can get started and start feeling better and doing more. Lots more. Talk to a trained Angioprim consultant or go to angioprim.com for help. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. That's Angioprim at 877-882-7221. Get the facts about Angioprim. Begin living the life you want, doing the things you used to do again with Angioprim.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. It's Thursday night, Fader Night, best night of the week. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. Absolutely fantastic, amazing show tonight. Let's go right back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? You're live.
Hi, Jimmy?
Yes.
Hey, Jimmy, this is Mike from up at the Alien Snowfest. How you doing tonight?
Oh, hey, Mike. How are you, brother?
Good. Hey, you brought up the thing about the age and how, younger kids and older people hang out together.
Yep.
And that really reminded me that night we hung out there at that bar, the Bombay, at the Alien Snowfest.
Right.
You remember there were 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, and 50-year-olds. And it was like we were all the same age.
All at the same table, yes.
Yeah, that was an awesome night. I had a good time.
So,
hey, what I'm calling about... Oh,
sure.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mike.
What I was going to call about is we stayed up there, a bunch of us afterwards. We stayed Monday, and we listened to the after show, and we were together with Dan, and he really got a kick out of coming to the United States for the first time.
Oh, from Australia.
From Australia. Yeah, so he... do you remember Terry that was there?
I do.
Remember her at all?
Yes.
He actually took Dan sightseeing on Tuesday. Afterwards, she drove him back down to the airport. She took him all over L.A. and Hollywood and showed him around town for his first time in the United States.
Yeah, I think he just tweeted out about an hour ago when I was talking about the ages thing. And he said, I think he said if he keeps flying back, to Australia from the United States, he should be 44 forever, crossing the time zones.
Yeah, he looks like he's in his 30s still.
Yeah. Well, apparently he's 44. I would have never guessed that as well. So, hey, Mike, have you checked out this Kyle Odom manifesto? Have you checked that out yet?
I've been on the road all day traveling, so I haven't had a chance to.
Okay.
But the people you've got on the show are really, really investigating it so thoroughly. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, when you get home, just go and just pull up. You can pull it up. You can Google it, or you can find one of the links in Twitter and go and hit it. But it's a pretty interesting read. You're a smart guy. Yeah, you'll find it very interesting.
The Alien Snowfest feel really like family. That was really good of you and Rita.
Yeah. We had a good time. Rita had a blast, and we're doing it again here this August. So we'll see you up there.
Yeah. So just to everybody out there, come to these type of functions. You get to go to a real intimate surrounding to see these shows, and you get to see the speakers, get one-on-one up close to them.
Yeah, it's the best part about it, Mike. And I say it to everybody all the time. And unless you've been there, you just don't know. You just need to go, hang out with everybody, and have a good time. The vibe is incredible. The show is cool. Come hang out at Fade to Black every night. But if you're into Fade to Black, go to one of these conferences because it's the exact same thing. But you actually get to do it and break bread and hang out and do all of that stuff with your favorite researchers and a bunch of people that think just like you do. It's the best time ever. Oh, I think we lost Mike. I felt it coming. All right, Mike, thank you for the phone call. Yeah, no doubt that he is absolutely right about that. And Dan just tweeted, "Hey, Mike." All right. Now check this out. Okay, anyway. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. First-time callers always get something from the junk drawer. That was a first-time call for Mike, and we lost him. So, Mike, if you're listening to me, write Rita, and we'll pop something in the mail to you. Not a problem. All right. A first time, speaking of first-timers, right? A first-time airline passenger in China caused a major flight delay after accidentally deploying the aircraft's inflatable evacuation slide when she was looking for the restroom. Yes, the incident occurred this past Friday afternoon on state-owned China Southern Airlines flight CZ-3456. The plane had just finished boarding, and it was getting ready for takeoff when passengers reportedly heard a hissing noise. The crew noticed an evacuation slide had been deployed, which alarmed everybody and ended up delaying the flight by several hours. It was soon discovered that 50-year-old woman, I have her name here, I'm not going to embarrass her, who was taking her first flight, tried to open the door thinking it was the lavatory. And then she told crew members, as they were arresting her, just kidding, that the first bathroom she tried had a very long line. But I'm not making it up. It's a real story. But how do you mistake the lavatory door, as you know, in an airplane, which is 1/4 of an inch thick? You can break it, right? You can break into it easy enough, too. And that door handle, the slide, the vacant thing on it, with the door to the airplane, with the huge handle and the lock and everything. How do you do that? But she did. All right. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. The cloud computing company Box, B-O-X, which filed a legal brief supporting Apple in the San Bernardino case, is one of the many tech firms rushing right now to offer a new encryption-related security feature. Now, it recently launched a product called KeySafe. K-E-Y-S-A-F-E, one word, KeySafe, that allows corporate customers to hold on to their own encryption keys. A move that co-founder and chief executive Aaron Levy said that was as much about fighting off hackers and cyber criminals as it was about fending off the government surveillance. The implementation of KeySafe means that the company cannot collect and hand over the private information of a customer even when the authorities have a warrant. And what's interesting here is that they are capitalizing on Apple and the FBI, right? This is publicity. Right now, I suppose KeySafe stock is the way to go right now, right? But if you look at that issue, that you have the encryption key, and there's no other way to get into it unless they come at you. They cannot go to Apple. They cannot go to your ISP or somebody else for your information. The only person to get it from is you directly. It's a pretty interesting angle, and you possess the encryption key. The thing that takes it one step in the wrong direction for me is what if you lose it? Right? Think about this. Now, let me tell you about my little episode that I went through 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, my cell phone, a new one, nice phone, by the way, Android, goes down. Can't read the screen. Goes down. So I go to my phone guy, Benny, and who we've been going to for a long time. Go to Benny. I go, dude, man, check this out. Got a problem here. And he checks out the phone, and he says, yeah, you do. And you need to replace the screen. Really? I said, well, what about just getting a new phone? Get the data out of it. Just give me a new phone. I mean, I can pay to have it repaired, or I can just do an upgrade right here. Sounds simple, right? And he goes, yeah, Jimmy, actually, I've got all of your information backed up. What's the email we used? I said, I don't know. Isn't it in the phone? Yeah. Can't you get it out of the phone? No, you got to be able to read the phone to see the email to go where we backed it up to and then get your information back. Now, there's the conundrum. Okay? My email password is in the phone. I did not write it down. Everything was backed up. Thought I did the right thing. Everything was backed up. Text messages, data, email, everything was backed up. But I didn't write down the email. So I went and ended up getting a new phone without any numbers in it. And I got stuck with that for 3 or 4 days because I couldn't use the other phone. It was unusable. So I had to get a new phone. So I get a new phone without any data in it. And then 3 days later, they repair the other phone, and I get it back, and I get my data out of it, and I upload it into the new phone. I go back to my old phone, and I went to go make a phone call while they were still backing up the data into the new phone, you know. So I decide to activate the old phone and throw a new number on it so I have a spare cell phone, right? Everybody carries 2 phones these days. So I go and do that, and I make a phone call. And the person that I called couldn't hear me. And it turns out that the audio was blown on my phone, too, as well. So I spent a lot of money to get the data backed out of it. Phone sits here. It's like a spare thumb drive now with all of my data on it. What's up, Les?
Oh, good. You know what time it is, Jimmy? Time to get a new phone.
I did. I just got a new one, man. I got a nice one, too.
What kind did you get?
I got a LG G4.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Big, gnarly. It's a tablet that doubles as a cell phone.
I know, man. Those mini tabs now, like the iPhone 6S and stuff like that, they are keen, man. Mini tabs now. I swear, when we grew up in the days of 3 channels and Commodore 64.
Right.
Did we ever think that technology was going to be like this, that you could carry a computer on your person?
Yeah. Yeah, this is even bigger than a 6S Plus or whatever. This thing is huge. But
Jimmy.
Yes, sir.
A couple of things, man. I've been, by the way, a great week this week. It made me think a lot. And by the way, Corey has my vote for the best this week. And it's really hard to vote for any one of them because they're all great. They really are.
Well, you work for the show, so your vote doesn't count, but I'll...
It's okay.
No, I'm just playing, man. Did you vote online?
No, I voted on Twitter.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So continue.
All right. Well, okay. First of all, with this Odom thing. Okay. Now, I'm going to tweet a picture out in just a second. You've seen the picture of Odom, correct?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. Who does he look like to you?
Edward Snowden.
Who else could he also kind of look like?
You.
No. You know who he looks like to me?
Who?
Timothy McVeigh.
Yeah, he's got a little McVeigh. He's got little fatter cheeks, though, because McVeigh was all gaunt, if you remember. But
yeah,
he's got a little MK Ultra in him, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Marine Corps. I'm not ragging on the Marine Corps. My dad was a Marine, and our friend, our friend Gunny is a Marine.
Right.
I love the Marine Corps, but you go back into Lee Harvey Oswald. You go back to the guy, from the Texas, tower who shot all those people. It just brings up a lot of questions, man. I don't consider it coincidental. And I think they're trying to make fools, in the mainstream media of something that we all kind of believe in. I mean, are they setting this up?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at his LinkedIn profile right here. BS, Bachelor's of Science in Biochemistry, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Biotechnology. Previous, University of Idaho, United States Marine Corps. Education, University of Idaho, and it's all here. Flight equipment technician, undergraduate, researcher, all of his connections have been pulled down. I wonder if they did that on purpose.
Yeah, and it's also kind of funny, actually, Eric, Awakening Man, should be called Amazing Man with all the research he did for us. Thank you, by the way, Eric. That was amazing what you did. Because he found out a lot of stuff that I hadn't even seen yet. And it just, it's just that whole pre-programming thing. I mean, him looking like McVeigh. Him looking like all these people that do this kind of stuff seem to have kind of like the same MO, or have they're all very smart. They've all been in the military. They've all, but something trips them, and it's like, boom, they all of a sudden go crazy when they're the last person you'd think would go a little crazy like that.
Yeah, it's funny how he has zero connections.
Yeah.
So I think that they've pulled that down, but they still have his profile up. I find that's pretty strange, isn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Everybody on LinkedIn has got a pile of connections, right?
He just had it there just to have it there, in other words, I guess. Or they tore everything else down, but they just still want everybody to see his face.
Yeah. You're right about that. What do you think about his manifesto?
I really don't.
You've read it, right?
Yeah, I just have a feeling it is his, right?
It was released before all of this happened, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about it, Jimmy. I really don't really have any thoughts on it.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You don't think he wrote it?
I don't know. I don't think he wrote it. That's just my opinion. I'm just not sure. This whole thing seems like a setup to me, Jimmy. It seems all too coincidental and just too convenient.
This is interesting. Who do you think? Okay, well, who is he then? And who would have?
I don't know. This whole thing reminds me of Montauk and My Lab and a lot of different things. That I don't know, man. It's just a gut feeling. I have a feeling he was messed with. I have a feeling that that this was all pre-planned by who, I don't know, but I think it has to do something governmental.
Well, who? Okay. Well, who would have written this if he didn't?
I don't know.
Well,
I can't answer that, but it's just a gut feeling, dude. I that's all I can say about that. I don't have any evidence to prove it.
Well,
it's just a gut feeling.
Sure. And I'm not asking for proof, but you have an opinion. Are you saying this is CIA, MK Ultra, that he was, a childhood My Lab victim?
I think it had to do with when he went. They saw a perfect person to mess with. I think it had to do while he was in the military. I think that it was something very akin to MK Ultra, because when Jimmy, when you go in the military, you basically sign your body over to the government, and they can do anything they freaking want to you.
Yeah, pretty much
at that point in time.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's just my gut feeling, is that it is MK Ultra. I don't know if it was My Lab. I probably shouldn't have said that. I don't know if he was messed with from a young age. I don't know if he's been abducted or not. But this whole thing just seems like a setup. To me, they triggered him when they needed him to make a point.
Yeah,
and that is anybody who brings up alien conspiracy, UFO, it is crazy and will kill you.
Well, he's one thing that he wrote this. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, excuse me. The one thing that stands out above all else in this manifesto, not the reptilians, not the sex slaves, not the church, not the education, not the college, anything else that he talks about here, the biochemistry and genetics and DNA, none of that. The one thing that flipped me out the most was that he says that his life was completely normal until February 2014. That is, when you talk about triggering, right?
Mm-hmm.
February, and he's able to pin it down. He knows the day, the date, how it happened, and everything.
What's the name of that movie, Jimmy? What's the name of the movie that they came? Manchurian Candidate?
Yeah, Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah. Very similar. He's triggered, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
Everything's different.
He says, his life was normal, and then he became interested in consciousness. He was studying and so forth. And he says, this continued until I encountered another being through meditation. It happened one night in February 2014, and it was the most profound experience I've ever had. I was lying in bed meditating, then suddenly I left my physical body. I entered a space that was completely dark and had no awareness of my physical boundaries or orientation. I felt very peaceful until there was a blue light began to approach me. As the blue light got closer, and he goes on, I realized that it was another being. Once I was in the being's presence, I felt an immediate sense of wrongdoing. It felt like I was being told, you shouldn't be here. I instantly conceded and felt guilty. Then I began to distance myself from the being. This had an impact on them, and it seemed to change their mind about me. The moment I began to distance myself from the being, I became overwhelmed by a feeling that I can only describe as unconditional love. During this part of the experience, our minds became connected, and I saw that the being was female. And then I began to feel the most euphoric, comforting, and blissful feelings I have ever felt. It was it was incredibly powerful and life-altering. Next thing I know, I woke up. That's what he says. Wow.
Yeah, but what it makes, I'm still wondering if part of that was all triggered.
Well, he goes on to say that he tried a lot to meditate, to get this, to make contact again, and it never happened. That was the only time, once. And again, it's a fascinating way to look at all of this. If it's fiction, if it's fantasy, and this didn't really happen, as he knew it, then I don't think it would be such a simple story. It would go crazier, and it's not. It's a very, very simple description. It's a very simple story.
That's true. And until, it's like what Eric just said, more research needs to be done to come to a better conclusion. So I think Eric is right when it comes to that.
Yeah. When he goes on, he says, the remainder of the semester became exceedingly easy for me. It felt like I had tapped into some kind of power. I was exerting no mental effort, even though classes had been extremely difficult before. I also began to have complex thoughts and a depth of understanding I had never reached before. Fascinating. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's a fascinating case altogether. It just, when I saw that, and what triggered my whole even thoughts about this was just seeing his face. It just reminded me so much of the, Timothy McVeigh.
Yeah. I'm looking at the mug shot that you provided. I think that's what that is.
McVeigh in a slee stack.
Yeah, McVeigh in a slee stack. All right. Hey, Les.
Yes, sir.
Great week on the show, man. Take us out of here.
Yes, sir. First, Jimmy would like to thank all the first-time callers and FADERNIGHTs who phoned home tonight. Fade to Black executive producer is Rita Camarion. Special thanks to LJ3, that's me, Renee, Jonas, Mark. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Brother Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Bateau, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro by Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, syndicated on KGRA. And with that for the week, Jimmy and I are out of here.
Thank you so much, Les. Have a great, safe weekend, my brother.
You too, sir. Good night.
Les, LJ3. Thank you to everyone who called in tonight. Lisa, that was a great call. Don't forget that email. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.